So you're ready to sign your buyer broker agreement to buy a house in New York. You're not sure what's true and what's not. Well, today we're going to myth bust the 3 biggest myths surrounding the new buyer broker agreement. Hey guys, Cameron Stewart here with the Homes by Cameron Stewart Real Estate Team powered by eXp Realty. The new buyer broker agreement or buyer agency contract, buyer contract, there's 1,001 names for it, it seems to be. It's new since August of 2024 and it's causing a lot of stir, okay? So there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, non-information, whatever you want to call it, going around regarding the buyer broker agreement. So today I wanted to take some time, record a video myth busting the 3 biggest myths surrounding the buyer broker agreement, because I want you guys to be informed so I can help you buy your dream home in 2025. Myth number 1. The buyer broker agreement locks me in as a buyer. Now, it is true that you are formalizing your relationship with your buyer's agent when you sign a buyer broker agreement. However, it's also important to know that there are termination clauses. This is very important. Every buyer broker agreement must include a termination clause, all right? So if your agent is telling you that there's no termination clause with your buyer broker agreement, that is incorrect. It must have a finite expiration period. Now, it is up to you to determine what that period is. Generally speaking, we're looking at a 3 to 6 month period, okay? But if you are looking at working with an agent who might be looking to lock you in for, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you may want to question them as to why they're looking for that. Now, there might be a good answer for that. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's very important to know that there is a termination clause and an expiration period as well. So we've got a defined term as to when this relationship is going to expire, but let's cover the termination. Generally speaking, most buyer broker agreements can be terminated as long as it's in writing. In the state of New York, we have constituted in writing to be email, text, or otherwise written format. As long as you can prove that you sent it to someone and they received it, that is termination. So all you need to do is write your agent and terminate your relationship with them as long as there is due cause. So to bust myth number 1, the buyer broker agreement does not lock you in indefinitely. Myth number 2, I have to pay my buyer's agent as a buyer. This is probably the biggest myth of them all. What we're actually seeing in at least the Oneida County market and the general New York market, maybe not downstate, but here in upstate New York and central New York, what we're seeing is most buyers are writing into their purchase offers that the seller is going to cover their buyer's agent commission. So it's very important that buyers in our market here in central New York understand that they can get full representation from a buyer while likely having the seller cover all of the commissions. Myth number 3, it's only beneficial to agents. This is incorrect. The buyer broker agreement is here to help foster more transparency in the relationships between buyers and their buyer's agents. More transparency is only going to lead to more seamless transactions. And when you know more about who's compensating your agent and how much your agent's being compensated, it'll ultimately help you make better offers and more informed decisions all around. The first is clear expectations. The buyer broker agreement is going to clearly define what your agent is going to provide to you, whether it's just finding houses for you to go see or writing offers or potentially going all the way through closing with that red carpet service or white glove service, we may call it. The next is overall transparency in compensation. We're going to clearly define how much your agent is getting compensated and, more importantly, who is going to pay them. And finally, dedicated representation. The buyer broker agreement also establishes fiduciary responsibilities that your agent must now provide you. By setting clear terms and expectations, the buyer broker agreement helps build trust and ultimately leads to more seamless and easy real estate transactions. But let's not take it from me. Let's actually hear from some clients who I have worked with personally here at Homes by Cameron Stewart since we started the buyer broker agreement in August of 2024. So I'm going to let you hear directly from some of my clients so you can decide for yourself if the buyer broker agreement is good for buyers or not. So we'll start with Brittany in Rome. Quote, working with Cameron was a wonderful experience from start to finish. We bought our first home at the end of the year, and I couldn't be happier that we had Cameron as our realtor. He tirelessly set up viewings and provided input about the properties and houses we saw with him, as well as laying out the next steps in the buying process. If you are looking for a realtor that will give you straightforward feedback and advice throughout the process, then do not miss out on working with Cam. End quote. So you can hear directly from Brittany that she not only expected to work with a realtor that set up showings for her and found homes, but also wanted to work with a realtor that was able to help guide her through the next steps after identifying the home and ultimately get to closing. Luckily for Brittany, we totally agree with her and we were ready to help her with that approach. The next is Sally, also in Rome. Quote, I never met an agent who was so knowledgeable in his field. Cameron treated us like we were friends for years. We had some bumps throughout our mortgage with the lender, and he stayed right there with us, assuring us everything was going to be fine, and he was right. We would highly recommend him to anyone because he became our friend and always will be there even after the sale. End quote. Now, at Homes by Cameron Stewart, we personally provide red carpet service or white glove service to both our buyers and sellers. So Sally could be rest assured that even when she had issues with her mortgage, and not necessarily an issue, but more hiccups, that I was there to help in any way I possibly could. Real estate is about relationships, and sometimes realtors can leverage their relationships with lenders and other industry professionals to get insight on what's holding a deal up and figure out how to get that deal closed. And finally, we have Adam in Taberg. Quote, if you're looking for a real estate agent who will genuinely care about your needs and work tirelessly to find your dream home, I highly recommend Homes by Cameron Stewart. Cameron is a true asset to the real estate industry, an absolute professional, end quote. At this point in time, I think you guys can understand the theme. These were all relationships that were predicated by a buyer-broker agreement, which allowed us to clearly define our expectations and allowed time for the buyer to see that the buyer's agent, aka myself in this situation, was actually performing on the duties that they said they were going to perform on. This helps build trust and transparency, ultimately leading to happy buyers and closed real estate deals. So after helping me bust these 3 myths, hopefully you fully understand that the buyer-broker agreement is here to help buyers. If you are interested in any more information, please feel free to reach out to me directly at 315-351-2765. If you like this video, please smash the like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend or family member who may also be interested. This is Cameron Stewart with Homes by Cameron Stewart Real Estate Team, powered by eXp Realty.